What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. So, elephant in the room. Chantal either deleted her, telling haters off video, or YouTube made the executive decision to remove it. Whichever it is, the video is no longer available, but I did listen to it. I took some notes. And I just want to start off by saying Chantal coming out and using ASMR as a defense is absurd. Chantal has a poor quality microphone. She records in an open area and she has nothing dedicated to filming ASMR content. Okay. There's not one sound dampener in her room. Okay. Those are things that are set aside how you feel about me, how you feel about Chantal. They are 100% absolute fact. And you can go watch her videos and see those things. More fact is Chantal has been interrupted by children playing, street noises, Sala barging in. So let's end the argument of ASMR, because anyone that would be unfortunate enough to listen to you for relaxation noises would be at the risk of your horrid editing or a lot of other background noise that would not otherwise be in an ASMR video. And again, because you're not in an area conducive to high quality sound or using an object or microphone meant for high quality sound, you're simply not doing this. Now, she wants to carry off that idea with this I'm well known, I have an online presence. And yes, I will offer that that is true. People do know who Chantal is based on the online presence and the fact that she has to constantly feed herself and her ego to say these things. The reality is, she starts to unravel her argument right there because she is not known as an ASMR channel. Most of her claim to fame on YouTube is for her ability to not have a filter, to go out and say and act to things, do things that most people find appalling, not simply recording herself eating for the sounds of herself eating. And this is where she wants to bring up reaction channels, trying to tear her down. And that, it's only us that's watching her. It's only us that gives her credibility. And let me make this very clear, Chantal. You cannot listen to us all you want. After all, you've built yourself in your mind into this level of self-importance. But we also have to understand, you, I, and the person listening, that there is a huge disconnect in income here. So you can think however you want, but let's think about it from a business perspective. Chantal is the boss of Feed Me Enterprises, FMI, okay? The reaction channels, as she likes to say, we are the employees. We are dependent on her to sign our checks and create the product in which we supply. And since we need her, that gives us a valuable opinion on the product. Now, you, the one listening, you truly are the consumer. You are the customer. You are the person that is electing where you are going to go shopping, be it me, which I greatly appreciate that you're here, be it her, be it someone else. So Chantal has not listened to the employees, okay? And that's one thing. She can sit here and tell us it's her business. We know nothing. She knows everything. We should shut up, okay? But the problem is we are now to a point where you, the customer, echoes many of the same complaints that us, the employee, had. So you've went from not listening to your employees to not listening to your customers. And what this has allowed is many reaction channels to kind of take that feedback that you're hearing now and almost start our own business. And with that, we constantly capture Chantal's past customers who are looking for someone that's going to respect them, not degrade them, not talk down to them, but more importantly, fall in line with the same values and say, yes, I see those same things. I have those same problems with this person's content. And that is where Chantal continually attempts to defend and deflect. So the problem is that her perception must always be that there is a bias, whether it's from me or whether it's from you. That she can sit there and never come out and speak the words, yes, I am eating food for more than one person, and yes, it's getting me paid, and yes, I have these issues. Instead, Chantal must try to create these kind of pivots where someone else is doing something, so therefore I can be seen doing that same thing. And in this video, she literally tries to leverage a professional eater. Okay, Chantal is not a professional eater. Again, that is fact. That is not debatable. No one to that matter looks at Nathan's hot dog eating contest and says, this is a bed brawl with hot dogs. This is people coming to, exploit a medical issue they have. And listen, I'm not going to be totally ignorant. I'm not going to sit there and tell you that, when people go to eating contests, they're not usually eating large amounts of unhealthy foods. But I'm also going to be mindful and saying that a lot of those people are, in fact, professional eaters and do things very different than you or I, just as they do things very different than Chantal. And I'll leave you with this analogy, okay? And I want you to think about this. Anyone can drive a race car. Okay, you could go sit in the car, drive around the track. Okay, but not everyone can be a race car driver. Not everyone is going to have that ability to put out of their mind the inherent dangers and risks that are involved and compete at a level of speed needed to be a professional. That is where Chantal loses so much of this argument. And she can justify it by showing the menu and saying, hey, listen, this is for one person. This individual isn't held to the same criticisms, but she's failing to understand that she is doing something fundamentally different. And she always wants to turn this into, because they're thin, they're viewed differently. And we'll get into that concept a little bit more at the end. But the reality is, while yes, they are eating a massive amount of calories in a single sitting, much like she does, they also do so with a tactful approach. They usually have restrictive diets to the point where they are able to go out and compete. They're often eating large amounts of, fibrous foods like cabbage to stretch their stomach and then restricting themselves. These are, again, things Chantal has no concept of, things she's never shared. These people, in most cases, do also not come out and talk about having health issues and bed issues, problems with food. If they did, I would actually make the argument that in the politically correct world we live in, that society would not allow people to be sponsored this way if they truly suffered from the same issue Chantal does. Okay, none of them are going to be able to come out and say, hey, I have all these health issues. Watch me glorify it on this larger scale, but it's okay. I'm going to win this competition. And that is where Chantal sits with the projection of, I can say all these things, but it's like I'm talking to a brick wall. Just like she's told us she does everything right off camera. Chantal, your size has grown along with your YouTube channel. And that is where I think much of the risk of this video being taken down was. Because it is not your perception, it is everyone else's. So when you sit here and say, hey, I'm doing the same thing, I'm doing all the things right off camera, we see those things not to be true. When you sit there and talk about your medical past, I'm not going to have this back and forth with you, okay? What I will say is your stories about medical care have greatly changed, both in time spent and care provided. You offer medical inserts in that video, which could very much have led to a citation of misinformation. You also start this very slippery slope of, I've read this book, I use that app. But all of it falls into the same rhetoric of you expressing to someone how we are to categorize what we're seeing. And it always ends up with you saying this is not bad, that you don't film those things. She talks about how the mukbangs are premeditated, thought out, for the sole purpose of filming and uploading. And I'm not going to completely disagree with that, okay? And really, if we're being honest with ourselves, no one should. There is some level of planning that goes into that. But I can't overlook the fact that that planning is likely giving into momentary urges that are pre-justified by, let me order all this takeout, I'll film this. And that is where she wants to turn that into the ever-present, you don't know what I do off camera, which is true. But just like we can talk about the ideas that go into what you're filming, we can make an educated guess of what happens when you're not filming. Because nearly every live stream you do, you are eating. We have seen you come online and have health deterioration. So while you're correct in saying we don't know what you're doing, we can also conclude that it's not healthy. And I do want to take this moment to kind of pivot back to Salah, because a lot of your actions have been the same in Kuwait as they were in Canada. And this isn't just recent, this is over the course of, 5+ years. It goes right back to her talking about hiding food, stealing food. We see these mannerisms. When they just went to a restaurant, she pulls food toward herself. She almost tends to mark her territory with food when she's saying, this is for me and Salah, but then she pours everything that she likes on top of the rice, on top of the food, when we know he is a picky eater by her own definition. She goes to talk about how she wouldn't eat anything in mass. Okay? If that's your argument, and you're saying, I would never come online and eat something in mass because that's my bed. I could eat an entire jar of relish. That's an example you gave. Then why have we seen you come online and eat nearly a full jar of pickles, nearly a full jar of fluff, drink salad dressing? You can't tell us in one light, hey, these are things that are private, and then literally film those very same things. Because quite frankly, what you're saying is, hey, I ate a whole jar of relish alone, and that was different than the time I ate a whole jar of marshmallow fluff on camera. That's where the argument gets lost. That's where you also lose the argument of, I don't even eat all the food, because look at yesterday's video, there was still fries and a wrap left over. Because you're leaving yourself open for the argument that as soon as the camera went off, you were eating it all. And while Salah may have loved you comparing reaction channels to dingleberries, it doesn't mean that everyone's opinion of you is wrong. And your counter argument to this is all, no one is a doctor, no one is an expert. That includes you in the conversation. You spend more time trying to express how you are medically right with pamphlets, WebMD, YouTube searches, Google searches than anyone. But the reality is simple. If you didn't care, these video responses would not be necessary. But you feel the need to justify. More importantly, this doesn't revolve around your size. I know you want it to, perhaps you feel better when it does, but understand, Charlie Gold made massive strides in her health. And you view her the same now as you did prior. You actually went as far as to categorize her success to solely be attributed to spiting you. So even in your own mind, we learn very clearly that size does not matter. I'm going to leave you with the top comments from the last video. I appreciate you watching this one. You know I will be back soon as I can. Well, maybe not as soon as I can, because I don't know how soon Chantal's going to be back if YouTube actually took that video down. But I will be back as soon as I can possibly be with more commentary.